of the just concluded 2019 Presidential and National Assembly elections. Good evening and welcome to Weekend File. The 2019 Presidential and National Assembly elections may have come and gone, but certainly not the memories of peculiarities of the elections are judged by relevant stakeholders to be relatively free, fair and credible. Elections in Nigeria have remained the major way of achieving legitimate rule since the country adopted the Western model of liberal democracy, and the process is meant to achieve four fundamental goals, namely social justice, enthusiastically participating citizenry, accountable leaders, and open society. It is important to note that the 2019 edition had few distinguishing features when compared to previous elections. For instance, INEC recorded 84.2 million registered voters as against 69.7 million in 2015. The implication is that more persons were expected to participate in 2019 elections. But did that necessarily translate into higher voter turnout? That's the big question. However, the elections witnessed optimum participation of political parties, the emergence of second category of parties, or the middle players that swell up the number of participating parties to 93, plus 73 presidential candidates, the highest ever recorded in the nation's political history since independence in 1960. There are other peculiarities such as the negative and positive roles played by the social media, the shocking fall of powerful politicians, and rise in the number of fresh parliamentarians that will make up the 9th Assembly. There is much more to dissect as we kickstart today's edition of Weekend File, your weekend companion. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Kirian Umayo, and the news begins now. Chinese President Xi Jinping on Friday extended heartfelt congratulations to President Muhammadu Buhari on his decisive win in the February 23 presidential election in Nigeria. In his congratulatory message, President Xi said President Buhari will join efforts with him, and Nigeria and China in recent years have significantly enhanced political mutual trust and secured fruitful outcomes in practical cooperation, which have delivered tangible benefits to both countries.
Ambassador Zhu Pingyang, accompanied by senior officials of the Chinese embassy in Nigeria, were received by the special advisor to the president on media and publicity, Femi Adesina. The envoy read in part the Chinese leader's congratulatory message to President Muhammadu Buhari.
On the occasion of your re-election as the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, I would like to, on behalf of the government and the people of China, and in my own name, extend to Your Excellency warmest congratulations and best wishes. I wish you continued success in fulfilling the lofty mission.
The Chinese leader said through joint efforts with President Buhari, Nigeria and China have in recent years significantly enhanced political mutual trust and secured fruitful outcomes in practical cooperation, thereby delivering tangible benefits to both countries.
I highly value China's relations with Nigeria and stand ready to join hands with you to follow through on the outcome of the Beijing Summit of the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation and take the China-Nigeria strategic partnership to a new height, to the greater benefits of the two countries and two peoples.
The presidential advisor on media and publicity, Femi Adesina, on behalf of President Buhari, expressed Nigeria's appreciation to China for being a dependable ally in development.
Starting from before the election, at a most crucial time, China stood up to stand by Nigeria. We found that very, very significant. It shows a friendly country. It shows a country that wishes us well. It shows that our relationship with China is not one-sided, it's mutually beneficial. So we are very glad. And followed up with this letter again, we just can't express our thanks.
More messages of congratulations on the renewal of President Buhari's mandate through the ballot box are being received from across Africa and the world. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
Very much so, Adamu, because President Paul Biya of Cameroon has felicitated with President Muhammadu Buhari on his re-election, wishing the Nigerian leader every success as he serves a new term. A press statement by the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, noted that Biya said he is pleased to extend his sincere and warm congratulations to the President as he looks forward to working more closely with him to promote friendship and cooperation known with the two countries to tackle the major challenges facing them on stability and security. More of the messages. The Nigerian Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs has congratulated President Muhammadu Buhari for his successful renewal of mandate. The council, under the leadership of Sultan of Sokoto, Muhammad Saad Abubakar, further stated that the trust by millions of Nigerians is because of the integrity the president is noted for through the years. The council said, as a matter of responsibility, it will continue praying and supporting development cause of Nigeria by President Muhammadu Buhari. In its determination to ensure that the leadership of Lagos State is sustained by the All Progressives Congress, some members of the party staged a 1 million man walk for the governorship candidate of the party, Sanwo-Olu, in the metropolis. Tunde Saiki reports that the exercise is aimed at canvassing for more votes for the party's candidate in the forthcoming election.
The 1 million man walk took off from the Maryland roundabout through some major streets in the GRA down to the police college, all in Ikeja. Participants, drawn from the 20 local government areas of the state, took turn to demonstrate their support and determination to continuously solicit for votes for the governorship candidates and his deputy, as well as members of the State House of Assembly.
We just want to let everyone know that we're one party. There's a unity within the party, the solidarity, and this 1 million walk is to show much of the unity that the party has been able to foster over the years.
People of progressive mind for Greater Lagos. We believe in progress and we believe in Lagos. We see the good work APC is doing in Lagos and we want the good work to continue.
At the police college playground, venue of the rally, party members took turn to speak on why all Lagosians' ballot must be cast for the APC candidates during the election.
We want all the Lagosians to come out en masse and vote for Babajide Olushola Sanwo-Olu and the Olufemi Hamzat.
Come March 9, making sure that everybody comes out, exercise their rights, and please, let's make sure it is peaceful, credible, and fair.
All of us know that Sanwo-Olu is the rightful candidate for this time. APC, the good job must continue.
Lagos is very important to APC and it is very important to everybody. And with this election, people have promised that they will come out better than what we had in the last election.
Various groups joined in the work for Sanwo-Olu and Hamzat. In Lagos, Tunde Saiki, NTA News.
The Buhari Support Organization, in conjunction with Abubakar Sani Bello Campaign Organization and supporters of the All Progressives Congress, have organized a road walk in Minna, Niger State capital, to celebrate the victory of President Muhammadu Buhari. Suleiman Kodogi reports.
The 1 million man march organized by the Buhari Support Organization took off from the Trade Fair Complex through Mobi Roundabout to the Obasanjo Shopping Complex and the Government House before terminating at the Niger State Office of BSO. The political rally drew participants from the 25 local government areas.
We have seen that he has done the best for this country more than any other person that led this country before.
BSO coordinator calls on the APC loyalists to ensure the victory of all the party's candidates at the general elections. In Minna, Suleiman Kodogi, NTA News.
Well, thanks for staying with us up to this moment on Weekend File. We will take a short break now. When we return, the file opens the interrogation of peculiarities of 2019 presidential and National Assembly elections with our correspondent's report. Don't go away. You're welcome back. The 2019 presidential election produced 28 million votes from 82 million voters for the 73 candidates. The votes were spread across the 36 states of the Federation and the FCT. Ignatius Sunko in this report highlights the demographic derivatives of the 6 geopolitical zones.
Statistics shows that the Northwest currently has the highest number of registered voters, with 20 million voters constituting 24% of the total, with Kano State leading with 5.4 million and a voter turnout of 1.9 million. States like Kaduna, Katsina and Jigawa State also witnessed large turnout of voters at 1.7 million, 1.6 million and 1.1 million votes cast. This explains why the bulk of the votes came from states like Kano. It is followed by the Southwest, which has 16 million voters, constituting 19.99%. Lagos has the highest number of registered voters of 6.5 million and a voter turnout of 1.1 million, but some observers describe it as not impressive. Northeast, 11 million, North Central, 13 million, South-South, 12 million, and Southeast, 10 million registered voters. The voter turnout in the northern eastern states of Borno, Yobe, and Adamawa were quite impressive. This is because the states are now conducive for political and other activities. Borno, with a total voters registration of 2.3 million, 987,290 accredited voters, witnessed a voter turnout of 955,205 votes, while Yobe produced a total of 586,137 votes out of the 601,059 accredited voters. In Adamawa, out of the 874,920 accredited voters, 860,756 voted. North Central, with a voter population of 13 million, has Plateau as the highest number of votes at 1.3 million, while the Federal Capital Territory has the lowest, standing at 451,408 votes. In the South-South, Delta State produced the highest number of votes at 882,254 votes from the 2.7 million registered voters, followed by River State with 666,585 votes out of its 3.2 million registered voters. The southeastern zone with the lowest voter strength in Nigeria has Anambra State with 625,035 votes as the highest in the region. The least vote came from Ebonyi State with 379,394 votes. Ignatius.
Several factors made the 2019 Presidential and National Assembly elections different from previous elections in Katsina State. Bashir Ibrahim Nababa looks at these factors and now reports.
Katsina State has over 3.2 million registered voters, out of which 1.6 million people exercise their civic duty at the 6,652 voting centers across the state. Perhaps what makes the Presidential and National Assembly elections unique in Katsina State was, among other factors, that there are no reported incidences of violence, political or otherwise, even in the local government areas bordering Zamfara and Kaduna states, which are grappling with security challenges. More interestingly, both election officials and security agencies operated within stipulated rules and regulations, in complete departure from previous elections. Some politicians in Katsina State noted that activities of political parties, candidates and other actors shows that sanity is being restored in the system.
We want politics of issues, politics of people electing their own representatives whom they have confidence in them without asking for any kobo.
But let me urge Nigerians to continue to believe in their Creator, God Almighty, and that only He can give power to whom He pleases. And whenever He decides, nobody can change it.
Another distinguishing feature was how underage voting was curtailed as experienced in Katsina State during the elections. This may be attributed to the proactive measures taken by the Independent National Electoral Commission through strict PBC registration. However, there were reservations concerning some critical areas.
Cases of thuggery in Katsina during the presidential elections were almost not there. We have not seen, we have not heard, and we have not seen anybody who actually reported the occurrence of this type of instances.
But the only disappointment is when it comes to the turnout. Katsina State have a registered voters of 3.2 million voters, eligible voters, of which about 98.6% of them have collected their PVC. But the final turnout was below 50% of them.
Contrary to previous experiences, the role of the social media in the entire process of the presidential and National Assembly election is very critical. From the campaign to the elections and post-election activities, the new media has added a new dimension to how future elections will be conducted and how public opinion can be manipulated positively or otherwise. In Katsina, Bashir Ibrahim Nababa, NTA News.
The just concluded presidential and National Assembly elections have been adjudged relatively peaceful, transparent, free and credible by relevant stakeholders. Olubukola Aduo in this report examines some of the peculiarities observed during the elections in comparison with the 2015 elections in Ondo State.
The presidential and National Assembly elections have come and gone, but the memories of events before, during and after cannot be easily erased from the minds of the gladiators, the electorates and of course the Nigerian people. Some of the peculiarities of the election that retained the incumbent, President Muhammadu Buhari, as the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces compared to previous elections, especially the 2015 election in Ondo State, include low voter turnout. According to statistics from the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC), there were about 600,000 accredited voters in 2015 against about 500,000 recorded in 2019. Another peculiarity, according to the electoral body, is the increase in the number of rejected votes. These developments, some political analysts attributed to the increase in the number of the political parties on the ballot paper, as well as poor voter education. Another noticeable trend was in the choice made by voters.
People are beginning to get politically conscious. In Ondo State, for House of Rep, you see the SDP and the ADC clinging seats. So that's to tell that people know what they are doing.
The level of understanding the importance of your mandate has increased, not necessarily voter education, because I don't think the media agencies and government did enough in educating the people, particularly in the local languages.
In 2015 election, the All Progressives Congress (APC) won massively in the state, unlike in the recent election, where the people of the state voted for the People's Democratic Party (PDP).
The issue in Ondo State is peculiar. You know, APC had a lot of issues, internal rancor, so that also could be responsible.
Another peculiarity is in the area of security. The Ondo State Police Command says adequate arrangements were put in place to prevent and halt possible violence in the state during the elections.
Everybody was put on his or her toes, and that was the result of what, that was why we were able to at least relatively deal with the situation, so much so that the elections here in Ondo State was adjudged to be very, very peaceful.
I'm at the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) here in Akure to know what the electoral umpire did differently in the just concluded elections. But all effort proved abortive, as the resident electoral commissioner is said to be out of town. In Akure, Olubukola Aduo, NTA News.
Meanwhile, from Lafia, Joshua Ojito reports that Nasarawa, as a state which was created in 1996, has participated for the 6th time in the history of presidential and National Assembly elections held in the country. Witnessed outstanding he said that this election witnessed outstanding peculiarities in the conduct and the result compared with previous exercises in the state.
Party primaries and campaigns by all political parties as build-up to the election went satisfactorily, stakeholders say. Then election, unlike in many parts of the country, it was greeted with high enthusiasm and large voter turnout. Statistics from the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) show that the total number of ballots cast during the 2019 presidential and National Assembly election in the state stood at 599,399 as against 521,641 in 2015. Stakeholders attribute the slight increase on political awareness among the people.
Each time we will be growing, but the pace at which we are growing is too low.
However, of concern is the high number of rejected ballots, which stood at 18,621 as against 10,094 for 2015 election.
We still want to ensure that our people are properly and adequately educated on how to cast their votes.
Although the election was not without challenges of late arrival of electoral materials and malfunctioning of smart card readers in some of the centers, the election was generally adjudged as successful and peaceful.
Nobody died in Nasarawa State. We didn't really record any violence. We work hand in hand with all other security formations.
The 2019 Presidential and National Assembly election in the state, observers note, has changed the political equation in the state. It is the first time President Buhari won the highest number of votes in the state.
This is the greatest success that democracy has been rooted in Nigeria.
Similarly, it is also the first time since 1999 the People's Democratic Party (PDP) did not win senatorial seat, as the All Progressives Congress (APC) won all three in the election. The APC has 3 House of Representatives out of 5 in the state. In Lafia, Joshua Ojitu, NTA News.
Thank you, Joshua. You're still watching Weekend File on the network service of the NTA. When we return from this break, we're going to be hosting our guest for today, which happens to be the Director General of the National Orientation Agency in the person of Garba Abari. And that will be in just a moment. You're welcome back, and joining me now is the Director General of the National Orientation Agency, Garba Abari. So you're welcome to Weekend File.
Thank you very much, Kirian. Good evening.
First, I'd like you to start by reacting to the report, that came from different parts of the country, with information regarding the peculiarities of the 2019 general elections.
Well, thank you very much. I listened to all the reports, and the 2019 presidential and the National Assembly elections actually has come with all their own kind of peculiarities. But they are not actually peculiarities that had not been expected. But of particular concern is actually the very high number of registered voters, high number of PVC collection against the actual turnout. In 2015, we could see that except for the Southwest, which recorded 32% voter turnout, all the other 5 geopolitical zones recorded from 40 to 45% voter turnout, which is actually in line with what I can call the global average. This time around, we have seen a significant drop in the number of people turning out to vote, in spite of the massive mobilization that has taken place by politicians during the campaigns. Political parties perhaps should have done better, because much of the mobilization was done by candidates and not by parties. And this is actually one of the peculiarities that we have seen. Political parties did not come out openly to canvass. In fact, those who drove the process of the campaign and those who did the mobilization actually were politicians, candidates, leading candidates. And that explains partially perhaps why we see many of the 72 out of the 72 political parties that fielded presidential candidates, some did not even get as many as 500 votes nationwide. So this is one of the peculiarities. But the other peculiarity, which I think is something we should note, is the fact that days or weeks before the election, the political atmosphere was kind of tense. We all expected that there will be massive killing, there will be massive destruction of law and order. Happily, Nigerians are getting wiser. The votes cut across. PDP ate into the into 80 APC states, APC 8 into PDP states. So I think we are gradually becoming wiser politically in terms of our political choices. The country is getting better for it. Because it speaks about how this kind of practices will enhance national unity and integration, and that petty partisan considerations, no longer become the driving issues on the forefront of national development. And then thirdly, we need to look at the role of the the Independent National Electoral Commission. Despite all the assurances that we got at the first instance that the commission was ready to conduct the elections, barely few hours to the commencement of voting, the elections had to be called off in the first instance. And that speaks now a lot about our institutional capacity to handle logistical requirements when there are national elections. This is very important. We must begin the process of planning for 2023 from today, or in fact from last week when the result.
Yes, and if you listened to the chairman of INEC, he did say that they have just started planning for the 2023 general elections, or perhaps to see how they can avert the issue of logistic difficulties that we encountered this time around. Now, some observers are of the view that the apparent there was apparent voter apathy that took place, of course, because we recorded 4.2 million registered voters, and we turned out a little above 28 million overall. And one question, what actually happened? Was there voter apathy because of the postponement of the election, or voter apathy based on individuals who were not willing to really go out and vote? Because if you consider even the cancelled votes, it will not push that number a bit higher.
Well, I think unless we finish the entire electoral process, we have just had the National Assembly and the presidential. We are going in a week's time to the gubernatorial candidates. Perhaps by the time we are able to get all the elections done with, and we are able to compute the figures and bring out some of the possible causes. We subject them to some interrogation and some manner of study, and then that will be able to come out with conclusive positions as to why the voters actually did not come out in the large number we expected them to have come out. That this is one. And this one of the other things is actually something which we must really address. Are our people actually confident about our democracy? Are they really confident about our democracy? Is the democratic system, as we are seeing it today, actually meeting the expectations? Is it actually meeting our developmental objectives, our developmental aspirations, our developmental requirements? These are all things that actually, a lot of studies have been done in this area. Some is still ongoing. Findings are not very conclusive, but I think we will also have to begin to develop some conversations around the confidence of the people, their trust in the democratic system, vis-a-vis their commitment to engaging in it very well. Because how inclusive is the political process? The level to which the political process allows citizens to be included will to a very large extent also determine in equal quantum how citizens get themselves engaged in matters of how leaders are elected, how government is being brought into place. Now, and I think this is some of the fundamental concerns that we as citizens and academicians actually and intellectuals out there must begin to provide answers for. Politicians must begin to debate their minds to these questions. We as citizens will have to also begin to take more than a passing interest in how much of our involvement will determine the kind of leadership that emerges, the kind of government we are able to bring about, and how accountable and how transparent such governments could be. And I think these are all issues that through which a common thread passes.
All right. Box snatching, ballot box snatching, and polls-related violence could be said to be virtually non-existent, save for some areas in Nigeria in this election. You recall during the Second Republic, ballot snatching and physical combat at polling centers were the order of the day. But perhaps we have advanced to some level where that has been eliminated. Do you think so? Because considering the fact that stories of ballot box snatching this time around was not as we had it in the past elections. Not 2015, perhaps maybe in the Second Republic.
Still, this has to do with how much our elections are improving over time. The credibility of the elections, how much improvement it is witnessing. That is one. And then secondly is also the determination and the clear signals that had been sent out by government and by security agencies that whoever infringes on the law will definitely be sanctioned according to what the law says. And I think this is a message which had been sent out timelessly and had been communicated to the citizens adequately, sufficiently, so much so that we had seen, not that we did not witness any incidents of vote snatching, but compared to what had been the practice in the past, it is much on a reduced scale. This kind of practice, if we adhere to it, definitely will improve on the credibility of our elections. That's one. But then, talking back again about the peculiarities that I was talking about before you came in with your second question, is the fact that for the very first time in the political history of this country, we ran an election with 72 presidential candidates. This is very peculiar. Perhaps peculiar for us as a country for the first time, peculiar to the entire sub-region. 72 political parties with 72 presidential candidates. And this makes the ballot paper actually almost as large as a newspaper page. And this is actually something which has, to some very large degree, accounted for the very large number of voided votes that we had seen. In spite of all the campaigns against voided votes, in spite of all the campaign against voting right, in spite of all the house-to-house campaign that candidate support group had actually done, going to house, showing with the sample ballot how you could sample it. And these are all part of some of the peculiarities
we're talking about. Because of course when you have over 70 presidential candidates, of course members of the National Assembly to vote on a particular voting day will be a little bit cumbersome. Well, let's talk about the role of the social media in this election. Barely 24 hours after the election, some persons were, circulating results, and as a matter of fact, before the day was over, we had a complete result from certain quarters, of course, which didn't augur well for this elective Congress. And well, coming back to the studio here, I'm still here with the Director General of National Orientation Agency, Garba Abari. Now, the President, in that brief speech, touched a few things, and one of which is the issue of giving priority to farmers, because Nigeria is getting to a point where we can now feed ourselves, that the institutions responsible, especially the Central Bank of Nigeria, should give priority to rice farmers. Again, he raised the issue of corruption, fighting corruption, that he will not stop doing that until something tangible is achieved. He also promised to include the younger generation of Nigerians in his government, and which was highly applauded, in that. But for you, what's the takeaway from this brief speech?
Well, I think the takeaway is It's the fact that we are going to have some continuity in what had been started already. This country must have to develop beyond the oil economy, and of course all the potentialities for going beyond the oil economy is there. What we had done with rice over the last 3-4 years, we can do for other major crops as well. We could do that for wheat. We could do that for other other cash crops, so that our food security can be ensured roundly and squarely. It's not only rice. There are many other things for which Nigeria is also not fully self-sufficient. For example, protein. How much of it actually? Because up to now we import beef and the rest of them. So we have to give priority attention to meeting all the national food requirements beyond rice, and that is why I take the call by Mr. President for the Ministry of Agriculture and the Central Bank to actually come out with a very robust, inclusive, sustainable, implementable strategies of empowering our younger our farmers, leveraging on technology, bringing in young people so that they will take more than a personal interest in agriculture, and in the process also develop the agricultural value chain with a view to addressing some of the employment challenges that is developing the country.
All right, sir. At this point, I'd like to thank you immensely for being part of this edition of Weekend Fire. Thank you for your time. We appreciate your contributions this evening.
Thank you very much, Kiran.
All right, I've been speaking with the Director General of the National Orientation Agency, Garba Abari, and here we wrap up this edition of Weekend File. Let's do this again next Saturday when we will return with a fresh edition of the program. Of course, it dissects national issues. From everybody here, it's good night.